used to view you as a mountain that I couldn't climb at first. But I've only stumbled over diamonds, and I no longer fear the worst.
Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back to the NECC. As we always do on Fridays, it is time for some Overwatch. Jobin and Ray here to guide you through the nice doubleheader we have on the docket today. Going to be taking a step into Division 3 and then Division 8 for the 9 p.m. slot. And this first game coming up at 7 p.m., we've got two schools with only one loss in the column so far, looking to either go to 6-1 or 5-1 and be very, very well positioned for the playoffs coming up very, very soon.
You got Wright State going up against NIU. It is going to be quite a fun match. The Raiders versus the Huskies. NIU, they've had a lot of teams, in the, lower Division 2, Division 3 throughout time is Wright State, kind of a newer name to me, but I'm excited to see how both of these are going to come out and see how well they perform and set themselves up for some end of season stuff.
Yeah, we've had an ever-evolving meta the last few months. Heroes getting nerfed and buffed seemingly every other week as we had the huge influx, the massive update, obviously. And these two schools have been very, very strong so far in the season, only having one loss. They both lost to the Carthage Firebirds red team that is currently sitting at 6-0 and running the table. So the only loss these two teams have is to the literal one seed in the entire division, essentially. So they've taken care of business. A lot of the wins have been 3-0 for these teams as well. So they've had some good meta reads. They've had a lot of good success, but now once we get to start seeing what bans we're going to see, I know Ilios is going to be map 1, and I think Freya and Jetpack Cat were the two bans that we got from production before. I think they'll pop up in a second here. So take away some of the annoyingness that the cat can bring you on Ilios, and Freya, another high mobility DPS that can certainly thrive if they go unchecked for a long time.
It's gonna be the one thing that's interesting here is both teams, as you mentioned, kind of have been like the next step below from the Carthage Birds. So this matchup could actually mean I'm not sure if both of them are guaranteed to make playoffs. If they are, that's cool, and it's going to give these teams a lot of information about each other, and it's going to say a lot like who is that preemptive second best team out of the Carthage Fibers. So this series is going to tell us a lot of information, and I think Jetpack Cat getting banned Ilios is one of the Cat's best maps currently in the game. A lot of open areas, a lot of places for you to cat at people off the edge. So I'm not surprised that they're gone out of here. And this has also have been a very good Freya map as well. A lot of open skies and open airways, especially here on Well. So I think both the bans are pretty solid for both teams as we're loading up to the lobby. No surprises here. D.Va has kind of been the demon lord on the tanks as of recent,
Yeah.
especially on a map like Ilios, where this was already a map where before she was super hard meta, you play her on this map, you're definitely play her when she's hard.
Yeah, D.Va is literally Thanos in the current state of the game. That is undisputed fact of the matter right now, and there was an audible boo from the prod room when we did see the Jetpack Cat ban. That has been the most fun part of casting and producing Overwatch, has been that sole hero alone, but obviously we've got an Embry, we've got a Vendetta that can get brought into the fold later. There are a ton of really, really strong options, but there goes the raid boss. It's going to be D.Va getting the first kill, shutting down the Sombra, and that means Wright State gets a player advantage early in the fight.
Yeah, that's going to be the issue for Wright State is they have the Sojourn, which gives you that one-shot potential and a lot more consistent damage versus NIU, who's going double flex with the Sombra Tracer. So they have to really rely pretty heavily on the Sombra Tracer D.Va coming together and finding good hacks. And there you go. That's how you do it.
Exactly how you drew it up. Haze, Azalea, and Flawless all grabbing one in the feed, and the Huskies wasting no time to break the point and instantly flip that capture back in their own favor. We are going to see Rep Dragon Tile getting stunned up there, or EM hacked up for a second, not EMP'd quite yet. Azalea only about halfway there, but NIU setting up good position now. We see this all the time on basically all these control maps. Once you get that capture, how much pressure can I put on the enemy's backline?
As we see Azalea Cat in the backline going for hacks, trying to make something happen, and Suzu's already been forced out.
Yeah, we do see Flawless looking to get their hands dirty on the backline, and they're going to find out the hard way that this tank is not to be trifled with. We're going to see Puma getting chunked down low as well. The Tracer just not able to survive the initial onslaught. And the Huskies, despite losing their Sombra, they give it back in blood and then some. Still sitting at about 45%. We are going to see Rep Dragon trying to go in for a possible last-second contest, but now your Kiriko just gets 1v1'd in the mirror mode. Hayes finds the shutdown, and NIU, they are still in firm control of the point.
Yeah, as for the side of Right State, they're going to have to be patient, wait for their numbers to come back, and be able to re-engage as we have Ender going over to the cast off the Sojourn as well, trying to have that stun grenade to be that much more of a threat for Flawless, but it feels like they just don't have an answer. Also, the cast threatens pretty heavily the Tracer and the Sombra, so I don't hate the swap, but let's see if that's going to be the answer to their woes.
Yeah, with NIU already being at 75%, for Right State, you are really hoping you can chain these ultimates together at the right time. You are going to be first to the beat drop, but with that percentage deficit, NIU can honestly just let Right State click all their buttons, kind of just give up the fight and then go for round 2, and it looks like they're going to decide to back up, and exactly what I said, they're saying, you know what, we're not going to waste the ultimates, all we have to do is rock up and win one more team fight, and as I say that, they're actually still contesting the point. Somebody is slipping through the cracks somewhere. They get all the way up to 92%, they get to hold on to every single ultimate, and now they just get to flood with everything on the break.
Yeah, so both teams are, NIU just held on to every single ultimate. They're going to have all 5, but the win condition here that the Huskies are playing for is this EMP. So if I'm Right State, I'm looking to play extremely split and not allowing them to get a full team EMP on us.
Can't let either one of these Tracers find that nasty pulse bomb on the back line, but now Fierce Safe's going to get taken down, and that means there's no option for the beat drop, but the EMP connects onto a few, and Azalea and the rest of the Huskies are able to make mincemeat of the side of Right State. We're going to see Puma end up getting knocked off the map. Flawless is going to drop the Diva Bomb and attempt to remech, and the point will flip back over to NIU as Rep Dragon Tile also able to hop back in the mech suit, and Right State, they got to get on the point, and they got to try to contest, and now you're fighting into a Kitsune rush from Hayes, and the Pulse Bomb gets sent out wide from Wit. Overtime now on the horizon, and NIU still looking to call the round.
So got High Noons available. It's going to force out the beat drop. What is going to win out in the end? I think it's going to be the sustain for the sound barrier. Here we go.
Yeah, we just see Flawless getting chunked down very low. The Diva gets turned into Baby Diva. The mech suit is gone for NIU, so there is effectively no tank for at least the next little while in the fight unless Flawless can rack up that percentage. And now you're losing 2 of your backline members. Flawless is not able to remech, and Right State saving it at the 11th hour, and we're going to keep on trucking.
Averse Puma has been coming through in the clutch for Right in 2 of these fights already. That has been the key to them turning these fights around and getting some positive success. And with the percentage ticking up, Jobin, we're in a situation where the Huskies have 0 to work with. It's not like Right State's sitting there with a bunch of ultimates either, but they're pretty close to the sound barrier. So the Huskies are going to have to win in the neutral at this point. And again, we saw that in the first fight where they all got together with the hack, with the Tracer, with the Diva. We need to see more of that.
Yeah, just like you said earlier, Azalea has got to find a window for a multiplayer EMP, and that may very well be their only option back into the game. You mentioned the sound barrier just being not even close in terms of percentage. I don't even know if Fierce is going to actually get it online before the fight completely devolves and somebody ends up falling, but as I say that, you do lose your support duo in Hayes, so that means the Right State Raiders have the full advantage as they go through the rest of the team fight. A few more kills potentially to be found. Azalea not able to get that EMP quite online, and that's going to mean that Flawless is forced back with the support still on respawn, and that mech suit on death's door effectively. Flawless not able to grab the health pack, but slowly able to regen back enough to at least live for a moment, but the Sombra falls before the EMP can get summoned, and Right State with the Deadeye, I think that might be enough for the round.
Pulse Bomb is going to find DeVolho, however, who is so close to that sound barrier. Still, the numbers do seem to favor Right State Raiders, and they're able to cap off the first point in exciting fashion for our first sub-map of Ilios.
Yeah, that was about as long as of a P1 as you could possibly script up there. 99 to 99 for the better part of what felt like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, which seems like an eternity when you're fist fighting to the death, perma back and forth, but it is going to be Right State locking in and having a really, really good run at the end there. They obviously had the ultimate advantage going into the second half of the round, and the Huskies just, once they used all those ultis to take back the point, they just didn't get a single one back online. I think maybe they got the pulse bomb at the end, but that was it.
5, 4,
And now, we're not going to see any swaps coming out from either of these teams, just the Sims to TP the teams in, who will ultimately go back to the Tracer. Thing that's going to be for the Huskies is getting more out of this Sombra. They had one big EMP, but outside of that, it didn't feel like, I never saw like that second big one come out. So they're going to have to be able to, do a little bit better job about that.
Yeah, so far so good. They just said, you know what, or Right State rather, they said, listen, we're going to do exactly what we just did to you. We feel like we got your number the last few minutes in the last couple fights, and they effectively get a team kill there. They didn't end up getting the Tracer, but you got 4 down in the feed immediately. That means you get an early capture. You get that itty-bitty bit of ult percentage charge, at least advantage. Ender already about halfway to the Deadeye, which can be extremely, extremely effective in some of these open areas towards the point, but NIU, lots of round left to try to fight this one through, and they're going to work the high ground with the D.Va to see what they can crack first.
Yeah, Ender going over to the Cass has also been a nice change, and as I mentioned, Adverse Puma has also just been playing incredible. On the Tracer, good hack on the Ender, but they're not able to do anything about it.
Yeah, this D.Va character is something else right now. Lucio running for their lives, but Fierce, there is nowhere to go from the mech suit. Rep Dragon Tile will be able to find you and take you down. And with those 3 staggers, with Haze falling now, that means NIU, effectively, you've lost probably the better part of 55% before it feels like you've gotten a real fight under your belt. And with the Deadeye already being online, we are going to see Puma hacked up for a moment, but the Tracer able to escape. And there is so much space being created by Rep Dragon Tile. The rest of these right state players just feel like they are untouchable at times.
Could agree with you more. Already a high noon available coming into this next fight for the side of the Raiders. NIU is just going to have to be very, very careful. They are getting very, very close to this EMP, which is great. I talked about them needing to try and build up to those faster.
Ender was doing some pretty good damage there, and now the Deadeye gets summoned as the point gets flooded, and Fierce is going to be the first one to fall. The Deadeye pulling the trigger nice and fast to shut down the Lucio. Puma able to recall back onto the terrain, and that means NIU, their Tracer is going to have no options left for the rest of the fight. And NIU, man, they looked so good in the first round, and this time they're struggling to find a kill, let alone win a team fight.
Feels like Right State Raiders have really found their groove. And again, Pulse Bomb from Adverse Puma just going absolutely insane. I mean, it just feels like now that they've gotten their feet down, implanted, they just have not looked back that impressive.
And a double EMP onto 2 of the squishies from Huskies means they're finally going to get the fight they were looking for. I was almost going to say NIU was about to lose the round without getting either support ultimate even online, let alone the chance to use it, but they finally were able to find the angle with the Sombra, and now it's all about trying to see if you can eventually take down this damn D.Va. It is so much HP and so hard with the mobility. Finally, though, they will chase Rep Dragon Tile back to the spawn, and NIU, you can breathe for about 5 seconds. You finally did something good.
That is a massive stagger coming in as they're sitting here trying to farm their D.Va mech back. I don't know if that's going to be a mistake or not. Yeah, huge mistake. I probably would have just jumped off the edge. That just bought easily 20, possibly 30% for the side of NIU. I mean, you will be able to come back with quite a number of ultimates online, and you don't have to deal with either of these DPS ultimates.
Yeah, NIU, sound barrier about ready to go for them. We obviously have dueling D.Va bombs, so these squishies are going to have to be very careful how they try to position between these pillars and these structures. And NIU, after getting that stagger on the D.Va, like you said, it was the risk reward. I don't know if it was on even trading, and once you don't get the remech, you're sacking 20 to 25%, and now it's going to be an offensive Kitsune rush out of NIU, just trying to make sure Right State stays back in their place, but they're still sitting on every ultimate except for the Pulse Bomb, so Right State, they simply need 1%. They're trying to go for the back half. They're going to launch the Kitsune. We're going to see Ender get stunned up from the Sombra, but eventually the sound barrier is going to keep everybody alive. Kitsune and the Deadeye trying to see if they can zone everybody else off, and Fierce is going to be the first one booped off. The D.Va bomb will be invested. I don't think anybody should be falling. And I think Right State may have done it, but with the D.Va falling, yeah, okay, they got it. I was going to say.
No, they didn't get it. That was just a really unfortunate death. I just was like, oh no, they got completely taken off the edge. Didn't matter that they had the remech. That was just a sad, sad death. But Right State Raiders coming out in this series, trying to make a statement saying, hey, we're the second best team in this division, and that was a great way to start it off.
Yeah, besides the first 5 minutes of round 1, it was essentially all them all day long. NIU, until they found eventually a really good EMP out of Azalea Cat to sort of get the ball rolling on the offense there at the end, they couldn't buy a kill, let alone, like I said, win a team fight. They were getting beat up by the D.Va on the backline. It feels like Fierce was playing in their own 1v1 kind of game against the D.Va that you're obviously never going to win on the Lucio. You just feel like you're trapped in purgatory for what felt like 5-10 minutes, and eventually the ultimates came through. We saw a nice Deadeye at the end, and just really good teamwork out of Wright, and just completely neutralizing NIU as that game got longer, truthfully.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you don't see a whole lot of double flex support. I mean, a double flex DPS, if I'm being quite honest. Just the amount of damage and consistency that you get from like a hit scan, whether that is the cast, the Sojourn, the Emery, just tends to go a lot stronger than the extra utility that a second flex DPS provides. Even if it is a hack, it's the hack only lasts so long, and if you're not taking advantage of it, you're just better suited having that extra damage. So, really curious to see for the side of NIU, how they look to like what maps they look to take us to, and how they want to adjust to try and come back in this series. As that was a pretty, at least that second map, extremely convincing from
Yeah,
the Raiders.
yeah, the first round it was, I mean, it was 100 to 99. It physically could not have been closer. And then round two, Wright's like, you know what? We got the info, we got the reads, shut down the Lucio, make sure the Sombra can't play the game, and our Diva should be able to just go out there and cook everybody. The Cassidy swap ended up being fantastic out of Ender, and even at the end of the game, Azalea finds the hack onto Ender. Ender's able to roll away and survive eventually. Sound barrier, the entire play is dead. Your one shot, your one opportunity to try to maybe get that pick to get the fight going, not able to do so. And assuming that it is going to be hybrid as a second mode, I've been seeing a lot of Blizzard World recently. I think I have the map pool here. I think it is. We have Eichenwald and Midtown as the other choices if it ends up being the hybrid in the map too. And I'm expecting to probably see Blizzard World. I know that's what most other teams in other college games have been casting of doing, but obviously it depends on what they're going to look to ban, what they want to play, what they're going to be comfortable on, because in a straight Diva v Diva matchup, I'm leaning Flawless or Rep Dragon Tile all day right now.
Yeah, I mean, their diva was absolutely nutty. So that's going to be the big question for NIU. Are you going to take us to maps where the diva is going to be fantastic, or do you want to try and avoid that at all costs? Like taking you to more of like a ground and pound type map, maybe more like a King's Row, where you're going to be forcing that, even Atlas in certain situations. For Flashpoint seems a little bit better for more of the brawl kind of types of situations. So, there's just a lot to be thought about especially, we talked about, I don't think we've seen a reverse sweep this season yet. So, at least on stream, I'm not saying, throughout all our division, I'm sure there's been one, maybe a few, but they just don't come by that often. So, I've always been a proponent of, being down 0-2 is almost a death sentence. So needing to change things around quickly is going to be very important for the Huskies.
Yeah, and being down 0-1 is okay depending on what heroes are banned, because maybe you have the best Vendetta player of all time. Vendetta gets banned in map 1, you lose map 1, but now you're unlocked for the rest of the series. So it's almost like you're not necessarily sacking game 1 in a way. And I know we didn't necessarily have hard carry heroes that were banned, particularly in game 1, but once the bans start to go through and more of the series opens up, it at least gives you a little bit more flexibility in the picks. But like you said, down 0-2, especially the way Overwatch is now, with some of the heroes just being so strong, and with the meta still being diverse, a really good team will just snowball you into oblivion once they get your number, once they get the read. We've seen it time and time again where, like you said, at least on stream, nobody has come back from an 0-2, and I'm sure it has happened, but it's not something you see very often in professional. In collegiate, usually everything has to go right for one team and everything has to go wrong the other direction for that to line up. But the good thing is you are going to have some options for the pick and the ban. See if they ultimately make any adjustments. Maybe we do see something like the Ramacha where it's a little easier to maneuver, I guess. You just have to rely on your teammates a little bit more to kind of keep you upright. So maybe the brawl style will fit the Huskies a little better, because yeah, that Diva, man, Rep Dragon Tile was a phenom in that map 1.
Do have a bit of an update for you guys. We have swap coming in for the Huskies, Flawless coming out, PK0 coming in. So, I mean, that's a tank swap. To me, that tends to signify something big. Don't know, if that was just if Flawless was their diva player and now they're bringing in more of their ground pound tank. Maybe it could be a Domina angle. We've seen Domina, having some pretty good high degrees of success. But I do think, a tank swap signifies a lot. So this curious to see what kind of tanks we get from PK0 as opposed to Flawless.
Yeah, we were just talking about, do you want to play Brawl? Do you want to play a more fist-fighty kind of tank? And immediately go, you know what? We're actually just going to full swap the tank, and we are going to be heading over to Atlas. So maybe the tank swap will, at least, and sometimes, even if you play a similar hero pool, sometimes after a slightly slower map one. It's just like a shot of adrenaline in the arm. You get a little vibe check for the rest of the squad. You say, listen, you might play something like the Winston, or you might play, I know Winston not getting as much love with the Diva being as dominant, but a few other tanks you could say, listen, I'm the best Ramatra, Orisa, Reinhardt player we have. If we're comfortable on it in these spots, maybe we can try to play off that and see if it works. But definitely going to be excited to see exactly what these teams have cooked up for Atlas, as we are going to get some bans, and it is going to be Mizuki getting banned away, who I know got, I think, a slight buff in the patch last week. I don't think it was a major buff, and then Sojourn is it's a Sojourn, so yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised to see the Mizuki ban here, but I guess we'll see. I think the Sojourn is pretty standard. Sojourn's just always been consistently an extremely strong DPS pick. I did call it though with the Atlas. I'm like, if you want to try and move this away from the Diva, go to Atlas. And the other thing to think about is possible like Czar Vendetta or Czar Reaper. Like that's been a very popular composition going on right now, especially if you're looking to try to do your best to counter the Diva. I know even Diva's just so good that you can still play Diva into that composition, but that tends to be where you tend to find as much success as possible against the Diva.
And luckily, our questions get to be answered nice and quickly as we spawn into Atlas. Right state, a very clean second half of Ilios. NIU Huskies definitely made them sweat for a good while. And we're running the full animal comp on the right state side, at least to some degree. We got the Hammond and we got the Jetpack Cat getting scooped up, along with the Mercy. So, I mean, you want to talk about mobility and aerial assault. Those are three heroes that can certainly do that in tandem. And for the other side, the DPS that has been getting, at least I was watching the Collegiate Homecoming on the weekend. Emery is seemingly running the show in a lot of lobbies and a lot of games. I think a lot of people are just a lot more comfortable and maybe some of the way the perks are, but Emery has been seeing a whole lot of love in Collegiate. Azalea is just going to pick up the Vendetta and then the Zarya, so we're going to slam all the good stuff.
Yeah, no surprises here. And Emery's gotten, you know, a couple micro buffs these last couple patches, which have made him just output extreme amounts of damage. Cat coming in is also going to be interesting ploy here, especially with the Wrecking Ball, but they've already lost their Tracer, so that might be it for this first fight.
Yeah, this fight, that's pretty well doomed already, unless the Hammond can somehow create a little bit of space and they can get a quick respawn. And oh my goodness, they actually do just that. The Cat finds one, but the Vendetta answers back with the Blade and finds two in tow. Rep Dragon Tile still able to be a little bit annoying on the site. The supports may very well be getting back in a few moments as well, but NIU was able to grab the first capture. They're going to get themselves a nice little cushion to get us kicked off here at Atlas, as we have Puma seeing if they can link up with the Cat there for a little bit of extra healing, but Devil's going to get taken down very, very low and able to navigate themselves away to safety, as NIU already sitting at about 40% on P1.
I will say I am not a huge fan of the layout of this composition for the side of the Raiders. Like, I don't have a problem with you playing Wrecking Ball on this map, but Ender on the cast, I am very worried for. You are the sitting duck in this composition. Everyone else has mobility to get away from these targets, so if I'm the Huskies, I'm going full send, sending my Vendetta with the bubble at that cast and looking to take them out quickly.
Yeah, and if you're Devil and Ender, you don't necessarily want to be the one, you don't want to be half, like, needing to grapple the Cassidy the entire game either. And so while you do want to help out the homie that doesn't have mobility, you also don't want to necessarily be the babysitter for the entire duration of Atlas either. So that's going to be tough to navigate, and it looks like it is tough to navigate, as Ender's just going to say, screw it, more damage, less mobility, let's get that area, essentially build the AC 130 with the Cat and the Bastion. But NIU, I mean, couldn't have been a faster P1.
The Bastion, at least you, like, if a Vendetta comes at you, threaten just so much damage that she can't just willy-nilly come at you. But I still don't know if it's going to be super ideal, because the Vendetta can still come at you with knowing that they're going to get bubbles from their Zarya.
Oh, there's Devil and Ender, though, the tag team working already, but a big blade from Azalea to shut down the Bastion. Unfortunately, the rest of the team is not looking too good. The supports and Wit are already both back on a journey to the spawn door, and now you've got a Zarya that is essentially in no man's land for the moment. The Vendetta trying to make heads or tails of the play. It's going to be the Hammond able to find a couple of shutdowns, and after a very, very poor P1, Right State making up for lost time there.
And that's a big ult trade. You get mines for both the DPS ultimates. Thank you very much, says the Raiders. As now they'll be able to aggressively hold here. They'll have a Graviton Surge for the NIU coming back. So that's going to be their win condition. You don't really have any defensive ultimates for the side of Right State to deal with it. So this ultimate's going to be big time.
Yeah, and I know I don't think there's a ton of areas to drop people. I guess there is some water and maybe some areas just trying to see the value of the cat ultimate potentially. Of course, going into something like the sound barrier where I click a button and my team gets a full boatload of steroids and we get to pay the fight a lot easier, but the Vendetta going right into the backline. The Graviton Surge is going to connect onto 1 or 2, but it's going to be the Right State Raiders finding a few kills. The Zarya still alive, finally taken down. I was expecting PK0 to fall about 10 seconds earlier, but that tanky Zarya able to survive, and in the meantime, Right State completely in control still.
Yeah, Azalea Cat's able to come back and get Devil in the end as these picks are just going back and forth, but it seems like the Huskies may have finally stabilized on this point, 99% and counting.
Yeah, but Lynx and the Hammond are able to give enough healing and enough annoyance to keep the play alive. The Kitsune rushes out of both sides, and now it's going to force the sound barrier out of NIU. They were able to flip the point finally, so at least the sound barrier can help them get a little bit of free percentage. Ender's going to pop the ultimate and instantly get shut down by, looks like the entire team getting in on the assist, and Devil and Rep Dragon instantly going to find a response to the Vendetta and the Kiriko, and now there's no DPS left for the Huskies. One of your supports is down, and I'm thinking Right State's got a pretty easy fight here.
I can't believe I'm saying this, Jobin, but we actually got artillery strike value in our year 2026. Literally, it forced out Suzu and actually got some damage in on the Kiri, so they're able to clean that up. You almost never see that these days. As we now move on to the next point, tied up 1-1, and this is one of the points that's actually going to be extremely favorable to playing this wrecking ball. Just a lot of nice tight corridors for them to be able to roll through and disrupt.
Yeah, and a whole lot of verticality, which of course goes in hand with exactly what you were saying, as we see Rep Dragon looking to skirt and swerve around the backline, and the Mines will end up finding the Kiriko, and Ender's able to piece up the Vendetta in the meantime, so Right State throwing a haymaker to instantly open up P3, and they're going to send the Huskies sprinting back to the spawn, begging for mercy as Point D will instantly get scooped up by Right State. Again, only that, basically the Mines ultimate being sent in from the Hamster, and other than that, nice clean fight win for him.
Yeah, this time around, however, they didn't get the DPS ultimates out. So, I mean, you still get the team fight, you start building up percentage, but it wasn't as high of a value. You do see Hayes going over to the Moira as well.
Oh, that pulse bomb sticks, but the bubble keeps Zarya alive, but it honestly doesn't even matter because the rest of the Right State Raiders were taking matters into their own hands. The Tracer was the backline just menaced, and then everybody else gets slammed in the front door, slammed through a table, and NIU forced to reset yet again. They still have the DPS ultis. The sound barrier should be up about the time the fight is getting going, and now we're going to see Hayes just popping over to the Moira and saying, you know what, I've had enough of the Kiri, I need a change.
Not a huge fan of the Moira. You just don't have nearly as much heals and utility as the Kiri. I mean, we'll see. You have a lot more burst heals, but it goes away quickly.
I mean, yeah, taking a Kiriko out of any team comp, I feel like always kind of sucks because that just means we don't have a cleanse or a Kitsune rush now, guys. So it's going to be a little harder. Obviously, a lot less consistent healing, and the Moira was the first to fall in the team fight, so evidently not working out too well so far. NIU did their best to flip the point. Wit, the only one able to find a kill in the dust up, and Right State, after getting Goomba stomped on P1, it is essentially 2 back-to-back sweeps.
Yes, we see the Huskies trying to make some swaps. They went to the Sigma initially, have decided to land on the Diva, which I think is going to be a really good swap. Diva can actually put an immense amount of pressure on this wrecking ball, especially with those micro missiles. And I like Hayes going back to the Kiri. I think the Moira was big bait. Like, you know, no, you don't play Moira in 2026.
Yeah, especially into this sort of comp where are you realistically going to be able to run down the Kiriko, the Tracer, or the Cat to hold a right click on any of these targets? I'm thinking probably not. You didn't get the Coalescence online, and Huskies lose 2 players immediately. We're going to see the Sundering Blade from Azalea not able to find anything. Everybody else in Right State saying, listen, we need to back up and avert the situation. Ender's able to go for the reposition and shut down Azalea instantly thereafter, and yeah, fierce. There was no other way out besides the ocean. Right State winning another easy team fight, and now they're going to force Azalea onto the Echo. They're going to demech PK, so it is just Stagger City right now, and NIU needs to figure out some way to get back in this map.
Yeah, and the Raiders didn't even use any ultimates on this point so far. They still have 3 to work with. The Huskies are really only looking at sound barrier, and maybe you can make something with the pulse happen, but especially with this point that they're on currently, Catnap has a lot of value on this point because you can take people off the edge much easier on this point.
Yeah, we just saw Fierce getting taken out the map, and there was no ultimate required, so that catnap could be very big. The pulse bomb's gonna be huge, though, shutting down the echo of all targets. That is a great find from Puma, and then you take your business over to the Lucio's desk as well and shut them down before the sound barrier is even thought about being summoned up. And now a pulse bomb from the other side. Wit able to find the shutdown onto Ender, but Right State still with the player advantage, and Puma is on a warpath the last 30 seconds, essentially just trying to call game by themselves.
Yes, Considering Rush and sound barriers from both sides going to come out. Still has his catnap available to see what this Bastion ult can do.
Yeah, Bastion ult in the catnap, and it's able to shut down the Lucio and then take the PK0 out of the mech as well. That was a high-value Bastion ult, so in the big year of 2026, apparently you still can find value on the Bastion ult. Puma's able to shut down PK. Wit looking to find one back on the opposing tank. Gonna be a 3v3 for all the marbles, and NIU not able to make back to home base. And Right State, not the result I was expecting, or at least in that fashion after they lose P1, but man, oh man, what was that, 300 to like 30 maybe? The last three, that was a routing.
Yeah, it feels like it takes them a second to get going on these different compositions, but once they get rolling, they do not look back. Happened on both of these maps as Right State Raiders, as we get a Bastion ult play the game in our year. This is all interesting. Anyway, yeah, once they get rolling on their composition, they don't look back, man. Happened on Ilios after the first sub map. Second map went like 100 to 20, and then they get to this map, they lose the first point pretty convincingly, like almost 99 to 0. And then after that, they just don't look back. So backs against the wall now for the Huskies, who have to find a way to somehow reverse sweep. So we're going to give them a break to try and catch their breath and figure out a plan going forward in the series. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back.
frozen over like I am. Well, I know you know that life is colder, colder when I'm older, older than I am. And I know you know that I have lost composure, but I'll hold you closer while I can. I never told you that I'm slightly broken, that I might lose focus when I am. I know you know that life gets colder, colder when you're frozen over like I am. Breaking up all this static running through my blood. Again, why do you waste your light on me? Out of luck, can I keep my head above this time? Again, feeling the ground collapse on me. Going around in a storm that only brings me down. Again, why does it feel so hard to breathe? Why does it feel so hard to breathe? So hard to breathe. Never found, but these voices bring me to my knees. Again, why do you waste your light on me?
Welcome back from the intermission, where we have a 2-0 series. Wright State taking down NIU so far, and we are going to have another swap. It looks like Flawless is going to be coming back into the tank slot for PK0, so the one-game experiment will be ending for now. We will be seeing if NIU can extend the series. Things have not looked, I will say, they looked very good for the first 5 minutes of the series. They have not looked nearly as good since, and the classic kind of adage, when you have the other team having like 9 hero swaps during a map, you usually have a pretty good thing going for you. Wright State had NIU scrambling, trying to figure out what picks were going to work. And now we're going to go to Esperanza to see if the Huskies can extend the series and put up a fight to close us out.
Because the bands coming in, the Zarya coming in for the side of NIU. Well, Wright State has decided to ban that Lucio. So that's going to be interesting as Wright State has shown, that ability with the Kiri cat. They seem very comfortable on that. I don't know if they're going to run that here, but with no Lucio, that's always a possibility. And NIU, who's kind of been running a ton of that Lucio, no longer going to have that at their disposal. So how is that going to affect things? As we see both teams loading up on the Diva on Esperanza, no surprises here. Talking about how Diva's a good hero. This is also a good map for the Diva. We do see Ender going to stay on that Soj. Now that Soj is available once again. No surprises here. Huskies going back to the tried and true with that Tracer Sombra. I mean, it was good for about the first point or so, and then it kind of fell off.
Yeah, we saw a good EMP. We saw a few nice pulse bombs here and there, but in between those couple nice plays, it was domination out of the side of Wright State. Now we're going to get the mirror match on most of the team, to be honest. Just the Sojourn and the Sombra being the only difference. We are going to see the Cat Kiri combo, and I don't hate the Lucio ban for Wright State. I don't think Fierce had played any other supports the entire game so far. I think there was no swaps at all. Hayes was the one that was kind of bouncing between the Moira and one or two of the other picks, but regardless of the map and what you got going on in your comp, the Cat will find blood. Devil's able to draw first kill of the round, and Wright State, if they can put this pressure on, should be able to start moving this robot up a little bit further.
Yeah, these compositions definitely going to favor what we've seen out of Wright State time and time again. I mean, they were playing Kiri Cat on the previous map, so being able to lock NIU into a mirror match of this definitely is going to favor them going forward on this map. And I think the other issue with the Sombra is, who do you look to hack? It's like everyone can kind of get away or deal with you in a sense. The Kiri has a Suzu, the Soj has a slide. Like, unless you get them in that like 1.5, 2 seconds of a hack, it's going to be tough sledding.
And I don't think that Wright State is a comp that necessarily needs to deathball and group together. So finding that massive AoE 5-player EMP, I don't think it's going to be that easy. And of course, there is a Suzu that potentially, if the Kiriko doesn't get caught, she can still bail out the rest of the team. So it's going to be pretty hard to try to get through this front line. And we saw, I mean, at least as far as the Diva 1v1s went, or the Diva Impact, Rep Dragon was immeasurably better on Ilios, and Flawless had a few nice, good moments, but the consistency was what was lacking. And Rep Dragon and the crew from Wright State, they were finding kill after great play after great play, and 2 minutes into map on Esperanza, and so far it is looking more of the same. Ender is going to get taken down low. We saw them body bag the Sombra a little bit earlier, but finally, I thought Ender actually was going to get taken out, but instead, nope. The Sojourn and the Cat will both live to fight another day as ultimates begin to trickle online, but finally they shut down the DPS.
Yeah, a lot of distance was gained for this side of Wright State, but because the bot was continuously moving in the favor of the Huskies, forward spawns are off the table. I say that, but Puma seems to not have given up.
That pulse bomb was between 3 players and was luckily able to shut down the Baby Diva. And now we've got a Kiriko 1v1 for all the marbles here. Length seeing if they can take a chunk out of Hayes. Ultimately, it means Wright State gets to get back on the horse here. 0.3 meters all the Huskies were afforded as far as distance, and only the pulse bomb being invested out of Wright State. Everybody else still sitting on the ultimate essentially at this point, as the robot will keep on cruising around the corner as they hit about the halfway point.
EMP about to be online for the Huskies. Let's see if, what you were saying comes true. Will they be able to take advantage of this when a lot of these players are just going to be playing split?
Oh, and Ender's able to shut down Hayes nice and early in the fight. Dragon's going to go for the bomb and the remake. And there's the 4-player EMP. Azalea is able to find the angle. They grouped up, and you're able to strike when the iron is hot. And now you can finally start to find the kills that you've been desperately looking for and hopefully get some progress on your side of the map. Ender's going to overclock late to try to save the play, though.
Because it was a 2-for-1 trade, so that they just even the fight up with that huge overclock shot. Let's see if they can find more.
Yeah, honestly, it was a fantastic call at the end of it. Wright State finds, as you said, they only really needed to find 1 or 2 kills to essentially make the fight even Stevens, and they did just that, and now they can immediately put that pressure back on again. It's going to force a Kitsune out of Hayes, and NIU looking to dig in their heels and at least put a little bit of pressure back on the Wright State side, because they are essentially just being trapped on this street corner. They cannot move for the lion's share of the map.
Yeah, and again, the Kitsune being forced out allowed Wright State to just completely get out of dodge and just say, all right, we're just going to completely avoid this. And they found Cat.
Oh, Rep Dragon is a demon at trying to find out these DPS. We saw them picking on the Huskies in that map 1, and right back to their winning ways here on the map 3, of course, with it being arguably the best hero in the entire game right now. If you're good at playing it, you're going to be able to create so much space and value for the team, and that is exactly what the doctor ordered for the Raiders as they're about to cross the 80-meter threshold mark with NIU Huskies still basically getting shut out.
They got a couple of key ultimates coming online. Let's see if they can get a good catnap on someone for the Huskies. There's no really place, that you can quickly take someone off, but you can definitely drag them into your team. Maybe Ender could be a good target at this point.
Yeah, if you can drag somebody, maybe, I was going to say into the Sombra, but Azalea said, listen, the Sombra ain't working, I need raw DPS. They go to the Sojourn, and they instantly lose the mirror mode matchup. Ender says, yep, I got something for you, and your pet too. Fierce gets shut down before a catnap can be thought of or materialized. In Right State, 5 minutes left on the clock, and they're going to be about 15 meters to the win by the time NIU respawns.
Yeah, one final touch for the side of NIU to try and keep their hopes alive in this series, but they are going to be climbing Mount Everest at this point, have to come back from down 130 meters and still win 2 maps after this. The pressure just continues to mount, and they find the DMAC.
I was going to say that the 2 maps after this is a good point as well. Fierce is going to land the catnap and attempt to take the D.Va into the backline, but Dragon has the bomb and has enough healing from the other supports that they are A-okay. And that means Puma's got all the time in the space to start space gliding on the backline. It's going to be a 2-piece for the Tracer. The support's getting active as well. It is the full team kill, and that is game, set, match series for the Right State Raiders.
Very, very impressive series, and that was a culmination. That was the most dominant they have looked. They were up 2-0. They were looking great, and that was just a massacre on that map from the Raiders themselves. So huge shout outs to them as we're going to get this Ender Sojourn play of the game.
Yeah, putting Azalea down and letting them know, listen, the Sombra was cute. I'm playing the Sojourn for a reason, putting them in their place there. And yeah, I mean, you talk about the culmination of they started a little bit slow in map 1. They started out slow in the flashpoint. Then that light bulb went on and it was all systems go the rest of the way. I mean, that was a 5.5 minute game of push, essentially. I think there was like 4 minutes left in the game. So just over 5 minutes and you win 150 to 0.32. You maybe lost one fight, and the fight you lost, Ender pops the overclock and ends up saving the entire play anyway, so they simply could do no wrong. The swaps, that's for the side of NIU, they tried everything that they could, just was not enough. And Right State, to beat a team with one loss like that, means that maybe there's a gap between 1 and 2, and then a gap between 2 and 3, depending, because as that series went on, yeah, that was just Right State all day.
I don't know. That's the big question is, I don't know how early on they faced Carthage, but if I was Carthage and I saw that, I'd be a little worried about how much they've learned since and how much better they've gotten and what might happen in a rematch. So can't wait to see how that goes. Huge shout outs to Right State as they basically lock themselves into the 2 seed heading into playoffs. NIU still likely making those playoffs. They just have to reevaluate and figure out where they go from here. We will be going on quite a break. We have, looking at my clock, 1 hour and 10 minutes before our next match. We'll be going into Division 8 with Morningside going up against Missouri State Black. So don't go anywhere. You got time to go get yourself some food, some drinks, and then come back all full belly and ready to watch another great match of Overwatch. We'll be back.
it cuts quite like a memory. Especially one that you're trying to forget. But I can't find the energy to rewind and reset. I know you don't wanna be used, but you use me to build up. You build up to break me down. And I can't stop thinking about you, but what you gonna do? And you know I'm feeling good like that, so what you gonna do? And I can't stop thinking about you, but what you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? I've been in the good times already. You can see it on my face, I know. No more racing, we got it. We could reach it, yeah, we got it. Oh, I'm feeling good like that, so what you gonna do? And I can't stop thinking about you, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
One, two, three, four.
Oh man, would you look at me? You're just another one-hit wonder, that's what everyone sees. Ain't it funny how you wanna be the best, but you can't even get up and get dressed? Wasted, face it, you're never gonna make it. Rockstar, you won't get far. I know you're confused. People tell you you can be anything you wanna be. Wanna go to outer space, superhero in the streets. Oh man, what a lie, what a time to be alive. How have I survived? Life's a battlefield, 1974. I think I'm going insane. I'm feeling crazy. Can't get it out of my head. Oh no, if the devil inside takes hold, then I just might wind up dead. Wasted, face it, you're never gonna be the one. Rockstar, you won't get far, but at least you had fun. People tell you you can be anything you wanna be, a king or a queen, as long as you love. They just wanna take your life, try to tell you it's a battlefield. People tell you you can be anything you wanna be. Wanna go to outer space, superhero in the streets. Oh man, what a lie, what a time to be alive. How have I survived? Life's a battlefield, 1974.
Baby, I just wanna be alone. I don't need your company, stop blowing up my phone. Hey, you don't get the things that I've been through, and I don't have the time to lay it all in front of you. And you think that you wanna save me. You don't know it, baby, why you do this? I got this under control. You think you do, but you really don't know that I don't need a savior. You can't be my savior. I'll save myself. I'll save myself. No, I don't need a savior. You can't be my savior. I'll save myself. I'll save myself. I'll save Baby, I just wanna be alone. I don't need your company, stop blowing up my phone. You don't get the things that I've been through, and I don't have the time to lay it all in front of you. And you think that you wanna save me. You don't know it, baby, why you do this? I got this under control. You think you do, but you really don't know that I don't need a savior. You can't be my savior. I'll save myself. I'll save myself. No, I don't need a savior. You can't be my savior. I'll save myself. I'll save myself. No, I don't need a savior. You can't be my savior. I'll save myself. I'll save myself. I stand back and I watch you explore in perfect visions like I've been here before. Falling faster, I try to ignore. I see you, I see you. I'll let you drag me to hell if you hold my hand. Way too many faces in the crowd, but I think that I see you. One too many drinks got me changing up the way that I need you. Now we're both at a bar, acting like it's not hard, trying to feel something different. Talk to somebody new, kinda wish it was you, kinda numb to the feeling. Now that you're gone, they say time should heal, but it's been too long. Couple months and I can't seem to move on. I can't seem to move on. I can't seem to. I can't seem to. Not that you're gone. I can't seem to. I can't seem to. Laying on my floor, thinking about all the things that we've been through. From 24/7 to pretending like I never met you. No, it's all for the best, 'cause I know we're a mess every time we're together. Going out of my mind, and I wish I could lie, tell you that it gets better. Now that you're gone, they say time should heal, but it's been too long. Couple months where I can't seem to move on. I can't seem to move on. I can't seem to. I can't seem to. I can't seem to. Go on myself. I'm cold steel stainless. My glass half full. Always said don't suffer no fools. Serpent daydream. I bite, you call me lovely. Got a sweet tooth. Gonna get the sugar from you. When they say I'm a machine gun, I take it as a compliment. Honey, you should know I can be a weapon. I can be a weapon. Come cold blood, selfish. Your words are painless. I like when I drive and feel so dangerous. They say I'm a red flag, 'cause they want it so bad. You should know I'm holding on to what I have. When they say I'm a machine gun, I take it as a compliment. Honey, you should know I can be a weapon. I can be a weapon.
I wish we stayed the same. I got way too many thoughts in my brain. But I got memories that run through my veins. I'm not one to blame, but I could point out every way that you changed. Some things stay up while others go right down the drain. And lately we've been going down in flames. But if I'm honest, I get in my feels when I want you. Say you feel it too, I'll haunt you. Hold on till I'm lost in nirvana. But if I'm honest, I get in my feels when I want you. Say you feel it too, I'll haunt you. Hold on till I'm lost in nirvana. But if I'm my therapist is saying that I should. I don't believe her, but I really wish I could. Instead, I guess I'll stay misunderstood. Oh, 'cause I'm stuck now, just trying to figure a way out. I've tried but can't seem to slow down, and I don't know if I want to. But if I'm honest, I get in my my feels when I want you. Say you feel it too, I'll haunt you. Hold on till I'm lost in the fun. But if I'm honest, I get my feels when I want you. Say you feel it too, I'll haunt you. Hold on till I'm lost in the fun. But if I'm can't seem to slow down, and I don't know if I want to.
All I seek to find is a world that's mine. Need a place to hide. Will you free my mind? Following the light of a world that's blind. In your eyes I see there's a place for me. All I seek to find is a world that's mine. Need a place to hide. Will you free my mind? Following the light of a world that's blind. In your eyes I see there's a place for me.
Hope everybody had a nice little intermission there. We had about an hour 5 on the clock to kill, but we're back for the second stretch of our doubleheader here in NECC Overwatch. Jobin and Ray going to be climbing down the ladder a few rungs from Division 3 down to Division 8. And now we're going to have Morningside taking on Missouri State Black in another game with two teams that effectively have the same record that are definitely looking for a win in the playoff push.
Yeah, very excited. This is the first time we have taken a sojourn into Division 8, which is the last division that we do. So I'm actually extremely excited. Morningside sitting at 4-2, Missouri State Black sitting at 3-3. If Morningside gets a win here, they more than likely will guarantee their spot into playoffs, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, for the other side, though, being at around that 500 record, typically, if you're at 500, you can backdoor into the playoffs depending how the rest of the bracket goes. If you have more losses than wins, typically that's when you need to get a little lucky, need to get some help from some other teams, and just a spot you don't want to be generally. So both of these teams have lots to play for. And I mean, if the first series was any indication, I saw two teams. I was expecting 5 maps, scratching and clawing all the way through, and then 30 minutes later, the series was already over. So I hope both of these teams brought their lunch today and they are ready to play because they've got everything in front of them. And I think we're going to get the map and the bands in a quick moment or two, and then we can ultimately see what kind of comps we'll be expecting. It is going to be Lijiang for the map 1, so tried and true classic.
Yeah, I will say, taking a look at their division right now, Morningside and Missouri are sitting at 4th and 5th. I don't know how many teams are going to make the big dance, whether it's 2 or 4. But if it's 4, then Morningside will guarantee their spot. Actually, they both can get it if it's top 4, but the teams above them are 6-0, 5-1, and 5-2. So either way, and Morningside doesn't have the map differential to be able to jump the other 5-2 teams. So they got to hope it's top 4, and they got to get the win here.
Yeah, got to make sure you just listen, take your destiny into your own hands. Don't worry about what the other teams got going on. You got to play your best in tonight. And we are going to get a Junkrat ban from the side of Morningside. So certainly not a ban that we see super often. They either despise playing against the hero, which understandable, or they've done some homework in Missouri State, maybe has a really good Junkrat player. And on the other side, we're going to take one of these power supports away. No nanos, no antis. Let's get the Ana out of here.
And this is not a slight to anyone, but this is also Division 8, which Division 1 has our highest SR players. Mm-hmm. So we go all the way to Division 8. I'm not sure exactly what the SR ranges are here, but you're definitely looking probably below diamond. So your plat, your golds area. So I'm actually not surprised to see a Junkrat ban. I mean, Junkrat can reign pretty heavily supreme in those lower areas. As we see Morningside rolling out on the Rhine Sim Bastion, which, I mean, the Sim and Bastion has actually been a pretty high pick rate compositionally wise. We've also seen the May Bastion go along, but they tend to be with like more of a SIG style comp, but the Rhine works extremely well into this. On Missouri State Black, I will say, if this is what Morningside is going to roll out on, the Winston for AJ is going to have a very tough time dealing with a Bastion.
Yeah, we'll see if they are able to create that immense space and pressure that good Winston players can do. Otherwise, though, we got Kimmy on the Vendetta, we got Soundcheck on the Freya, so you got a fair bit of mobility there between the two DPS. You certainly have some playmaking potential, but Bastion, he left clicks. Miyu looking to lock down with the Reinhardt and the rest of the crew, and some of the arrows going from the Freya doing a lot of damage onto Miyu, and then Soundcheck able to find the finishing blow. So Missouri State Black with a fantastic opener. See if they can find anything more. Lithium looks like they're going to get something down low. AJB is going to occupy the point, and it is going to be the capture to Missouri State.
Yeah, getting that exiting pick onto the Juno is actually huge for Missouri State Black. It's not going to allow Morningside to be able to push up as aggressively. Looks like they are going to attempt and try, despite being in a 3v4. They are going to push pressure on the point.
Yeah, we've got the Winston hiding up on the balcony, now making their presence felt on the low ground. We've got Egoist seeing on the Reinhardt if they can swing away on the angry Winston, but it is going to be Morningside ultimately able to flip the point back in their favor. The Winston gets pinned, and Eric's is going to get taken down by Keller, so Morningside, a nice answer after they lose the opening break. Slowly get these ultimates online as fast as they can as Missouri State is resetting.
With the Rexton being down, the side of Missouri State's got to be patient. They need both their supports in order to engage in this fight. The issue is they're facing down quite a lot of ultimates, especially with this Blizzard and this Coalescence just around the corner for the side of Moorside Mustang. So Missouri Black has to be ready.
Whoa, they were. The Reinhardt was ready. AJB gets pinned to the wall and eventually shut down, and then the Bastion's able to get their hands dirty once again. Soundcheck catching a phase full. The Shatter, I think it may be connected onto somebody late, but at best it was one player for a moment. Ultimately, the Shatter does not get them that much value, more of a zoning tool than anything, but if you're Morningside, you still control the point. You've got the Blizzard and the Bastion ulti ready to go, so you're A-okay with that.
We do see AJB going and making a swap over to the Ramatra, which the Ramatra into the Reinhardt I think is deceptively Like, I mean, yeah, you can punch the Rhine shield, but that's really all the Ramatra can do. So this May Bastion can be dangerous work for the Ram if you don't position yourself correctly.
Now we've got Miyu taken to the skies and able to shut down Erix. The Alari just has nowhere to go. Doesn't get the Solar Flare online in time. That means Morningside has the player advantage. And that's going to be the Orbital Ray out of Missouri State. I thought that was Gatitos for a second because of the way Morningside was just cleaning up the fight. But the opposing Juno pops the ulti and they get nothing of value from it. As Morningside cleans up the fight yet again. Cheeky little wall there to make sure the players all back away and some dirty right clicks to get that chip damage down. And Missouri State, you've got to pop this Sundering Blade and this Solar Flare and get going. You are running out of time.
Yeah, Joe, but it's felt like the main theme of today has been we're actually getting value out of Bastion ult between both these games.
Yeah.
Blizzard's going to come out another point as they're looking to secure this point victory.
Yeah, Gatito able to find one. We are going to see Soundcheck pop the ultimate and able to pop Miyu in the process. The Solar Flare is going to get sent in by Erix. But I don't know if they're going to have enough damage to take down the rest of the team. They did a decent bit of work with it, but ultimately the Moira holding on to right click. And then Killer Keller looking to lock in the other support frag. Finally, Potato is going to find a lovely little answer onto the opposing Juno. But Morningside, maybe once they get through the Vendetta, I think it's going to be theirs to win. Yeah, finally, there's no more staggers. There's no more last-second touches. Soundcheck did actually make it back right at the end there, but Egoist was able to play that professional Reinhardt and lock the front line down.
I will say, all things considered, I feel like the Vendetta is not getting the value that you expect out of that hero. I mean, to be fair, they're going against a May Bastion. The May slows them down. The Bastion just throws so much damage down. The block can only do so much. But Missouri has to change something up and find some kind of different answer because, I mean, yeah, they swapped to the Ram there. It seems like they're back on the Winston now, which, I mean, for Night Market, I kind of get it. But at the same time, like, this Rhine with the Sim Bastion, I mean, at this point, it wouldn't be surprising to me if they just keep the Sim and hunker down on point, and that's just going to be so hard to attack from a Winston standpoint.
That's exactly where my head's at with Morningside, is that if this comp can get to the point first, they've got a hell of a defensive setup with the Rhine, the Symmetra, and the Bastion. That is a phenomenal front line that you can set up and say, listen, we know you have some dive. How about you come to us and fight us on our terms? And we'll see if you end up walking away the winners. And as I said that, Morningside immediately onto the point, courtesy of that teleport. And I think they've got the same strategy I was just cooking up. Listen, let's get the early capture. And Egoist had created so much space for us on the Reinhardt. We trust ourselves. And now they shut down the Moira and they get capture.
Yeah, getting Potato Gun. I think that's the one thing you have to think about if you're Missouri State Black, is trying to take this down, is trying to take as many angles as possible on this point and get this Rhine composition to have to look in multiple directions. So, I mean, you can't just all funnel one direction. The Rhine value is just going to get ultimate amounts of value. In that case, Morningside was just able to get the Moira, who was on an off angle. If you could just keep those angles for a little bit longer and give your DPS time to find picks, I think that's your way to try and break this open.
Yeah, given the pretty distinct lack of mobility between some of those Morningside carries, you're really looking for Soundcheck, Kimmy, and AJB, some tandem of these three to ideally isolate one of these targets, and then you essentially try to ignore the Reinhardt for the first part of the fight, find the important targets, and then circle back to the tank once the fight's a little bit easier for yourselves. But instead, let's just kick in the front door instead, and we're going to find a few free picks. AJB and Kimmy both linking up for a dual pair there, and the Reinhardt still going to town on the Winston. AJB and Egoist going toe-to-toe on the outside of the map. Missouri State was able to flip the point back, but the Reinhardt is still alive and can still be a little bit annoying, although this might just turn into a stagger.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you don't get this flip fast enough, you're just feeding more and more ult charge and more point percentage. We see AGB has made the swap off of the Winston to go over to the Domina. I do like that the issue is against the Reinhardt. I do think the Domina kind of struggles a little bit. I mean, you'll mostly just be shooting shield, and the Rein, generally speaking, can pretty easily walk up on you. You don't have a lot of shield break potential.
Yeah, Ryan can just ignore everything you got going on. Another kill with the Bastion ult, Ray. I hadn't seen a Bastion ult kill in probably a year, and we've seen 5 on the evening already. The Shatter able to follow up as that next engage tool. Coalescence gets activated. Lithium able to pump up the team. And Missouri State just now losing the point. Effectively a tie game. It was 49-47 with Morningside taking control of the point. But Missouri State, 4 ultimates ready at the go.
Yeah, very expensive fight for the Mustangs. 3 ultimates committed, so they have to cling pretty heavily onto this Juno and Symmetra ult in order to combat every single one of these 4 ultimates that Missouri State Black is going to be coming back with.
This will need to be an all-time orbital ray out of Gatito, depending on how aggressive Missouri State decides to get. The Sundering Blade up in the high ground, able to find the shutdown onto Miyu, and then the spin to win onto another member of the backline. The Coalescence getting fired into Potato Gun as well to keep the side of Missouri State sustained. But the Moira's getting caught out. The Symmetra's going to split the fight as well. And then it's the late orbital ray out of Gatito for that last second sustain, exactly what Morningstar needed, or Morningside. And they're able to lock down everything completely, 90+%. Everybody's still looking healthy as ever. And now we're going to see a last-second Solar Flare come from Erkson, but it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, unfortunately, because you're at 99%, you just kind of had to rip it and go for it. They weren't able to get in position to heal AJB either, and that is going to be all she wrote for map number 1, folks. Morningside Mustangs come into this series, which is a must-win in order to try and keep their hopes alive for playoffs, pull up the Ryan composition on Lijiang Tower, and just swing their way to victory.
Yeah, Ryan Bastion, we're partying like it's 2020 or 2019, but hey, sometimes the old comps, it's comfortability, it's simplicity, and we talked about this, right? Not necessarily being top 500 players that are going to be slaves to the meta. They're playing what they're comfortable with, they're playing what they enjoy, and sometimes that is the key to victory. Miyu gets a ton of value there on the late Bastion. The Reinhardt was unironically maybe the star of the show, completely neutralizing the opposing tank, finding a few nice shatters, so really, really good teamwork out of Morningside, and certainly a very good foot forward in map 1.
Yeah, I would say generally speaking, there were a lot of situations where I'm like, really, you're going to push that right there? And then they come up with a miracle pick on the Reinhardt. So I think, you know, Morningside has the confidence. They know how they want to play to their win conditions, and they're playing it beautifully so far. And I think, you know, given that you see a Ryan composition on Lijiang, it's kind of expected. The question is Morningside a Ryan team? If so, map picks and bans can be pretty targeted toward this composition. Again, we don't know the flexibility. They could play a lot of other different stuff. But if that's the case, then you at least have some stuff to go off of. I would side with taking us to a map where the Ryan's not going to be as strong and show us you can play something else.
Yeah, and it's just going to depend what Missouri State's able to play. We saw a swap to a Domina. It was so late, we truthfully didn't see anything out of it. We didn't even get the Panopticon online. There wasn't really any play that happened. The Reinhardt simply said, I'm moving forward. They somehow survived the end. Missouri State pops like every single ultimate. Morningside just bides their time, plays patiently, waits. Gatito slams that late orbital ray, and then all of a sudden it is uh-oh for Missouri State. And I just want to see exactly, we didn't see too many. I think the only swap we saw was possibly on the tank. So I hope they've got something else cooked up. Maybe we'll see the Ramatra. I would really hope that one of these players plays Diva. If one of these teams has the best Diva player, I think that might be the most impactful switch later on in the series. But as you said, no idea what these hero pools look like. They could be Ryan Arissa players that have been tinkling around with the Hazard, a Junker Queen. Literally anything is open at this point. So Missouri State just has to figure out exactly what they're good at. And like you said, play into, you've seen now, a good Reinhardt player, some decent DPS, and overall good teamwork. See what you can do to just cut into that a little bit.
I would say one thing that has been interesting, especially from this side of Morningside, is that they've been playing Ryan compositions with, Juno, yes, has the speed ring, but no Lucio. Lucio tends to be like, play the Lucio with the Reinhardt. Lucio wasn't banned either. So to me, it seems like they've taken some teams just don't have a Lucio player. I get that. It takes a special kind of player to want to hop on that Mr. Frogman. So that might be something to think about going forward, is the fact that, maybe we won't see a whole lot of Lucy in this series, which I'm all up for. Love to see the diversification of the heroes. Um, but because that's the other thing when Reinhardt compositions, because they relied heavily on speed. Normally, you're like, okay, you need a target ban of Lucia. I mean, they weren't even playing it, so that's one thing to keep in mind if you're Missouri State.
Yeah, I'm certainly not one to complain that we're not seeing the Lucy Kiri backline for the umpteenth time in a row. I love series like this where I genuinely go map by map and I have no idea what's coming. With Atlas on the docket, it certainly opens up a few possibilities. We did see some divas getting in the mix a little bit earlier, so maybe we'll see a complete. We did see a little bit of dive. AJB, it was actually on the Winston, now that I remember, for a bit. So I think they had an idea that maybe they are, I don't know necessarily the best dive team, but they at least wanted to try sort of a dive backline comp. Will they go back to it? It obviously didn't work that well on Lijiang, but Atlas is, of course, going to play extremely different. But for the side of Morningside, I mean, you banned away the Junkrat in map 1. I wonder if it's just going to be another target out toward the DPS, or if it was just Lijiang specific where they said, this character sucks. We don't like it. We're getting rid of it. So I wonder, because even like something like the Vendetta, I don't think it scared them enough to warrant a ban. So I think they can just kind of go off the cuff and say, what do we hate playing against? Get it out.
I agree. I feel like for the side of Morningside, I mean, it's literally just they're pretty open ended. They don't have to, get super specific on what they're looking here. I feel like the ban phase is much more important for the side of Missouri State. And again, Atlas is a map where Ryan's going to be welcome. I kind of talked about last series where take it to a more brawl oriented map where Diva might not be as strong. So Ryan is going to be like, you want to take me to this map? Sure, I'll go. I'll gladly play this map. So my question is Missouri going to ban this Reinhardt? I feel like if you're going to take it to Atlas, you're asking them to play Ryan. Therefore, I would ban it.
Yeah, and then I wonder if you ban the Reinhardt, do we just see Egoist say, yeah, I've got the back pocket Ramatra, I've got maybe an Orisa, something else that can kind of function in the same way, even if they aren't necessarily the most meta slave picks. So there are still a few tanks in the back pocket that could very well get brought out, but I honestly wouldn't hate a Reinhardt ban. I feel like Egoist was extremely strong on there. A few very nice. I think they only died maybe once or twice the entire map. They were really holding down that front line. Gatito and the other support knew exactly what they had to do to keep the Reinhardt up. And maybe we do see something like the Lucio where now I just have the sound barrier, so my Reinhardt is just that much tankier in that big team fight where we need to win. Or the Ramatra. I know the Annihilation got like the tiniest of baby buffs to like 5 damage per second on each ticker. So the littlest of buffs, or Ramatra is a little bit better than he was before. But Morningside, they're saying, listen, we're taking the dive away. And you know what? The Mei was pretty good on the last map, and Mei as a character can just be, it can terrorize you across the entire map. So Missouri State saying, no more, we're getting that out of here.
I will say this is also a very good May map, so I at least understand it. The Winston's a little more of the perplexing one. I mean, I don't necessarily like, if I think of like the top 5 heroes tank wise when I think of this map, I don't think Winston even cracks the top 5. Like I think Ram, Diva, Mauga, even possibly us. I don't know. I'm very shocked that they decided to go that direction. And to me, I don't know if the Winston was impacting as much as it seemed to be, but I mean, hey, take that out of their tool. I mean, we're playing mostly the Winston the whole time, but we did see the capabilities of playing the Ramatra composition. It was only for a short time on Control Center, so maybe they like to go that direction. But as I kind of talked about, the RAM alone into Ryan isn't good. You need other tools with it to make it work.
Yeah, the Rebel, right? In theory, I can punch through the shields. Yeah, cool. What else are you going to do when the Reinhardt inevitably pins you to the wall, hits the shatter onto you, you get chain CC'd, you get taken down. So yeah, it's by no means, right? In a vacuum, in a 1v1, sure, the Ramatra's fine, but you do definitely need a lot to play around that. And Morningside for the Winston ban, we did see AJB start with it. I think that could be as simple as click on the other tank's profile, lots of hours on Winston. That sounds like a good ban to us. Get it out of here, and we'll see if they can play the Diva, if they can play the Ramatra, if they can mirror match us with the Rhine. Because the Winston, it has to be a respect pick for AJB because I'm assuming it's either like a 1-trick or a 2-trick because they started on the Winston, and the fact that it's getting a ban after it didn't work. I'm assuming Morningside has some info, or they just really hate playing against Winston on Atlas.
I mean, I mean, we're gonna have to find out. We'll be getting you guys into the map shortly. It wouldn't surprise me if we continue to possibly see the Bastion out of the side of Morningside. But here we go. Starting out on Atlas, let's see what we are going to get from these teams.
We did see a quick little hover before the screen reset. I saw a cat bat for Missouri State, but of course everything reset. The players are going to have a few extra seconds to think things over, but Missouri State, I just want to see you get aggressive and make decisions as a team. The worst thing you can do is play 4 games of Overwatch on the same screen at the same time. If your tank's having trouble, what do you got to do to get this tank to win their matchup 1 or 2 times and see if you could just sort of overpower the side of Morningside? You mentioned the Bastion could very well be brought back in. Miyu says, yep, I found a lot of success on that. I'm going to bring that back in. Egoist able to swap over to the Sigma as well. Killer, don't know if the Symmetra will stay, but obviously fantastic mobility in the early game. And Missouri State, Domina, Venture, Freya, Baptiste, and Juno. It looks like AJB will be hopping over to the Zarya, so complete change up for the most part from what they were running.
Initial flashpoint station.
Here we go. No surprise, and they will end up on the Domina in the end. So Domina versus Sigma. So Poke versus Poke for the tank wise. Kimidog going over to the Venture, which I mean plays very similar to the Vendetta. The Vendetta has just been a little bit stronger, but in a map where there's a lot more flank angles like Flashpoint, you know, the Venture sometimes tends to come out.
Well, the Venture came out, unfortunately got sent right back where it belongs, into the spawn. Kimmy, I don't even know if they got a shot out of the gun or any spell click. That was instant takedown for the or for Egoist. And again, the Sigma is getting supreme value in the early going. This first fight, it's hardly a fight. It's a one-sided beating courtesy of the Mustangs. Missouri State, they showed up and got rocked with an uppercut, and they're going to get sent packing immediately.
Yeah, Mew on the Bastion going in sicko mode. They're already 60% to the ult. I will say sound check for Missouri State that the Freya can have a lot of value. We saw it on Control Center obliterate Mew in the first fight, but you got to keep your distance and get a lot of spam damage done.
Yeah, and ideally get this ult charged as fast as possible. Already at 80%, so Missouri State, a nice possible opener as we do see Kim Dog going underground and able to escape back to the squad. Do not want to get caught out again by the Sigma. That Venture's disruption is going to be very much needed in a lot of these team fights with Morningside, especially with all the shielding from the Sigma, the mobility from the Juno, and Morningside right now, they are just in firm control of the point right now. Missouri State is looking for any way in, and AJB, we're bringing out Thanos. We got the 5th Infinity Stone. Diva is in the server, so we'll see if AJB can turn the tide with that pick now.
Still, I mean, both teams are positioned quite well to continue to keep this going. Oh, that's not great. The Freya's not in the best position there, but let's see if they can turn it around.
Yeah, I honestly cannot believe that Soundcheck lived in the early part of that fight. Miyu had him dead to rights, and there's the trade eventually onto the Freya, but it's going to be the DPS from Missouri State getting active there. And now the supports are linking up to find the shutdown onto Keller. Morningside already up to 99%. All they have left on the point is the Sigma, but as we said before, Egoist, get as much charge as you can because ultimately you will fall. Missouri State will grab control of A. And at the very final hour, it was 99-0, and they just get it over.
Yeah, again, and they were able to keep both their support ultimates and their remix. So they have a couple of tools to continue to hold here. I would say Morningside also held on to a decent amount of ultimates as well. So really, it's just going to be about who takes initiative and gets things going. It's going to start with this Bastion ult.
Oh, every single ult we've seen tonight has gotten a kill. This may be the first one to come up empty-handed, but it does zone off the Baptiste and a few of the Missouri State players, and Morningside looking to go take a lot of space, courtesy of the Sigma. The Coalescence is looking very, very good. This Bastion is getting an entire lifeline worth of heals. The Venture's got absolutely nowhere to go, and now a Diva's getting isolated out. That's a good Diva bomb in the corner. Everybody, though, able to drop to the low ground in the nick of time. And Morningside, after they find the last couple kills here, they will be capturing A, and they're going to be up 1-0 in the flashpoint.
Again, that was just Morningside playing aggressively with that Bastion ult and then following up with that Coalescence to just take full advantage of the positions Missouri State Black were in. And you get the remake out. Soundcheck is going to go over to the Ashe now, but they will still have both these support ultimates for this next fight. So this window and an orbital ray, how will it compare to the just absolute kill potential that this overclock's going to have for Keller?
Yep, well, what orbital ray the Juno got immediately murked to start the fight, and not exactly what Missouri State wanted. That's exactly how P1 started as well. It was a quick pick onto, I believe, Kimmy, and instantly Morningside said, yep, we got what we needed. We got a player down, 5v4. We like those odds. And even then, getting another player very low, Kimmy Dog and Soundcheck, both getting chunked down. Soundcheck able to coach gun away to safety, but in the meantime, the Mustangs were able to corral the D point. They get the early capture yet again, and they've still got some pretty damn good ultimates to zone people off. That Graviton Flux can be a real game changer if you run into it unknowingly.
Here comes that window, and he positions himself just above it so they can't really pepper him with damage at all. Very well played from Egoist.
That was an amazing Graviton Flux. It was a scoop and score behind the window. I think Potato and crew thought they had a beautiful angle, and Egoist says, yep, how about we all go sky high for a little journey, and I plop you back down to earth. Missouri State, orbital ray in the back pocket, tectonic shock just about ready to go, but again, they're just starting down. It's going to be 75-80% at a minimum.
They will still have the fact that they have their orbital ray and their tectonic shock, but in the meantime, Morningside still kept their overclock. Mew's already built up to another Bastion ultimate, so I mean, he's got to get aggressive here.
Ooh, Killer Keller with the overclock. Putting Soundcheck to shame there, and now you're just going for the Venture to pop out from the underground. Tectonic Shock gets activated, but the Moira's able to sustain both of the DPS, and Mew's able to clean up the fight. The Morningside Mustangs DPS are not messing around, and now it's a late coalescence from Lithium just to make sure we go up 2-0 here. The tank is able to lock in a few more kills, and it is all Mustangs all day long. AJB back onto the Domina, and while they are cycling through good tanks, we always talk about it on broadcast. When I see a player swapping 3-4 times in a game, I've been there, I know it's checked. It's hard.
Yeah, that it can be. Just momentum is just so, I mean, momentum can just be a hard thing to break. It just takes one big play, though. Maybe this Bob coming in and getting a couple, but they just got to find an opening.
Yeah, the Egoist is just invincible on the front line. The Reinhardt wasn't dying. The Sigma's not dying. The only time they died was an extended 1v5, where the rest of the team for the Mustangs died first. The Sigma's been doing so much work, effectively playing 1v2, 1v3 the whole game. And when you give Killer Keller and Mew time to operate, they have been coming up aces every single team fight. We are going to see Egoist get stunned away, but again, the positioning is very, very good. Nobody from Morningside is overextending, even when they get these advantages. They are playing true and they are playing disciplined.
That they are. Panopticon unfortunately finds nothing there, but a decent amount of pressure being put down as trades are going back and forth.
Yeah, you're really looking for Soundcheck to either get Bob in the mix or find a kill, but not enough time. It's going to be the Orb from Lithium able to find the shutdown onto the Ashe. Morningside continuously racking up the point. Egoist will get hit with an anti, but with one DPS already down in the fight, that is going to be shrugged off with ease. As the Sigma can continue marching on the back line, the Odd has taken a rock to the grill. And Morningside, we need Soundcheck to send Bob in quickly, Amazon Prime Express, because this map is about to be finished.
Yeah, it is going. I don't even think they have a touch at this point. They can try and throw Bob in, but they don't have it. Bada boom, bada bang. Morningside Mustangs go up 2-0, just impressively showing their flexibility, but this Bastion from Mew has been potent.
Listen, I love a good Bastion, especially when they can find all that value, and it's a lot easier to play Bastion when you have something like a Reinhardt or a Sigma that just feels like it is a brick wall protecting the rest of the squad. You got the whole barricades, the battalion ready to lock down the rest of the fight, and Morningside just looking cleaner and cleaner, even from the map 1, which was fairly dominant. That map 2, I mean, Missouri State won 2 team fights potentially out of all 3 of the points. It was Morningside starts, they get first pick, they get the capture, and that was essentially it. They got all they needed.
Yeah, again, just incredible plays coming out from Morningside. I mean, the Sigma, they showed we don't need the Rhine, and the Sigma also pairs well with that Bastion style composition. They showed they don't really need the Mei either, which I'd say going forward for the rest of the series doesn't bode great for Missouri State, but uh, at this point, I would just try and take them fully away from any kind of ground map. I'd be like going extremes like Gibraltar kind of style maps. Just don't let a composition like that beat you.
Yeah, I think at this point, I would be much more willing to lose if I played Mir Modiva instead of letting that Sigma or that Reinhardt, or I wouldn't be surprised to see even a Ramatra, because the Sigma and the Reinhardt have looked fantastic. I've got to assume the Ramatra's also in that hero bag, so I think you're completely correct. You just got to throw a spanner in the works. You got to completely change how this game is played. You got to make it messy. You got to play a lot of high mobility carries, because when you're not, you are getting locked down and shut down, and Morningside is making it look easy in many of these fights, quite frankly.
Yeah. So time will tell, and we're going to go to a quick break while we give the side of Missouri State a chance to take 5, figure out what they're going to do to try and come back and reverse sweep. Don't go anywhere. The conclusion of the series when we come back.
I gotta get to you.
We are back from the break in Morningside right now, a 2-0 series in absolute control, but we will see if Missouri State Black can answer the bell. They're obviously going to get a selection of map and mode again, and we are going to have a few substitutions coming in from both sides, so could potentially be the shakeup that the series is needed for Missouri State.
Yeah, as we saw for the side of Morningside, we have ACEI coming in for Egoist, which we'll see how that goes. Egoist was doing insane amounts of work. It may, dictate depending on the map. We'll see here shortly. And then for the side of Missouri State, we got Soundcheck coming out, AJB going over to DPS, and Pseudonym coming in on tank. So they got role swaps, they got new tanks coming in. It's going to be a whole thing as we got Midtown on the brain with Diva and Venture bands coming in. So the Reaper of tanks is not going to be on this map.
And that's going to be Missouri State on the left side there, Morningside on the right. I'm sure that'll get fixed ASAP. Of course, Mew and Killer Keller and the rest of the crew have been doing phenomenally, and we are going to see Ace scooping up the Reinhardt immediately. I was definitely surprised to see the Egoist sub out. I thought maybe they would kind of play into what we said, where they're expecting Missouri State to throw a complete wrench in the works here and draft something random, and they're like, you know what, we're going to play maybe our off tank that isn't necessarily a brawl player, but maybe it's a Diva Winston sort of player. But nope, give me Reinhardt on Midtown all day of the week. Pseudonym is going to be picking up the Ramatra, so you've got a little bit more power going back the other way. But Missouri State, maybe the changes will work, but you're still down 2-0. You got to win 3 in a row.
Yeah, here we go. Junkrat and Vendetta. So a lot of shield break with the Junkrat with AJB. So that's one thing Ace is going to have to worry about.
Oh, and AJB on the Junkrat. We saw the ban come through earlier on map 1, and maybe this is what they were worried about, was that character possibly having the pop-off potential, as we do see for the first time all day, Morningside draws first blood in a team fight, and they've at least got the early advantage in the early going. We do see Eric's back onto the Alari. They had some mixed results earlier, definitely some good moments, and then got caught out a few times, but Missouri State, it's only very early on Midtown, but they're looking like a little bit more of a cohesive unit.
Again, this Junkrat, as long as it can continue to hold corners and just spam down, it's going to be extremely powerful. The big question is going to be if Morningside can break through with the Sim TPs, what value to get out of the Junkrat from here on out, as they're already going to get control of the high ground and almost get themselves to point for pretty much nothing.
Yeah, that's honestly a really good call. Anyone that's played Midtown knows that heroes like the Bastion and the Junkrat, they can be a thorn in the side if they go unchecked for too long. All of a sudden, you're getting 100-0'd, and a few trades going back and forth. An early Riptire already online. That's going to be sent in right on Gatito's face, so Missouri State, they catch on to the Symmetric TP play. They end up binding all the damage, and AJB is going nuclear.
Yeah, I mean, that was just nicely done, methodical. I mean, the Junkrat tire just going crazy. Morningside did their best. They did get a single tick there, but I liked the patience that Missouri played with. But a big shatter.
Yeah, that's going to knock down a few players, but I don't know if they actually have the follow-up. We saw a big ante onto the Reinhardt. The Coalescence is activated by Lithium. They've got to get this Reinhardt rejuiced, though. Missouri State down their core DPS. You have Annihilation, Nano, and Solar Flare all ready to go, so plenty of tools to try to defend off Morningside a little bit longer. Ace is going to get stunned, but it doesn't matter. The Bastion is back in action. Miyu able to scoop up a few. A 2-player ante, and then the Annihilation and the Solar Flare instantly flip the fight on its head. Missouri State, every ultimate invested, but every kill found.
Yeah, actually huge. I didn't realize the Solar Flare stays lingering for that long. So I was like, I think there's a huge mistake to pop that ult, but the fact that he's able to get that activated to activate the Solar Flare. Go strong. He's going to now use the Bastion ult. We've seen value out of this surprisingly, and it gets another.
Oh! Of course, it's the Night of the Bastion. That's what it's going to be all day long. Killer's going to pop the wall and try to split the fight up a little bit. No other ultimates ready to go, so it's just going to be a raw 5v4 for Morningside, and now Pseudonym gets taken down. Finally, Morningside has got the big team fight win they've been desperately clinging to the entire round. Going to be about 55 seconds left on the clock when they get to enter the push segment of Midtown with 3:25 left to go, but Missouri State, a much better opener on defense.
Couldn't agree with you more. And they still have their Sundering Blade and another Junkrat tire coming online. So they still find themselves in a pretty favorable position. The question is, can the Ramatra get out? No, they cannot. That is bad news, Bears. Even if you end up getting the Symmetra and the Moira, you still can't play as aggressive without your tank at its disposal.
Oh, I thought Ace was about to get the catch of a lifetime. Unfortunately, they were not able to. The Vendetta and the Ana are having a grand old time in the backline. Miu is going to be the first one to fall. Ace is charging in circles, trying to get anybody that will come in the crosshairs, but ultimately not going to find anything. Potato looking to give some healing to the rest of the squad. We've got a few ultimates ready to go. Morningside was looking for a bit of a half reset there. We are going to see Killer Keller swap it over to the Sojourn now, so putting the Symmetra to bed as the Riptire flies in from over the top, but it doesn't find a kill. Luckily for the side of Missouri State, Lithium will go down to the Vendetta, so Morningside still fighting their way out of a hole.
Yeah, they're in a 4v5, still a Sundering Blade online. It's going to come out and find Ace on the Reinhardt. Back to the spawn room you go. Missouri State Black, man, they are just looking impressive. And in my mind, I mean, I like the swaps and changes they've been making, but feels like maybe you wish Egoist was in here.
Yeah, certainly feels that way. Not that Ace has necessarily played bad. It's just Egoist had been so damn good. It would just feel bad trying to even attempt to take them out of the game on a heater. Shatter will connect, and then the anti goes through onto the Reinhardt. Kimmy's able to find the exchange onto Keller. The Annihilation's going to get popped with the Nano. That is a dangerous Ramatra. The Orbital Ray trying to keep Morningside alive, but it's going to be Ramatra's world, and Morningside simply living in it for the near future. Another big anti means that shutdown will be secured, and Morningside is getting slapped in the early game.
Yeah, Potato Gun playing extremely well on this Ana. A lot of these fights don't happen and go the way they do if the big anti does not come in. We do see the swap for Lithium now going over to Kiri. They need that cleanse because the anti is doing too much.
Yeah, this Ana has been damn near, if not flawless, on the next best thing. But as I say that, a late anti onto Ace could potentially try to swing the fight unless the Reinhardt can get healed, because the Ramatra is nowhere to be found. Back in the spawn door, Kimmy's going to be down to 1 HP as well, and ultimately they will decide to ignore the rest of the fight. But you got AJB maybe playing their true role on the DPS. They've been an entirely different player since switching roles. Gatito and Ace are able to find a few massive kills, and Morningside can at least start to push a little bit, because it's been tough sledding all the way through.
I mean, we just blink and there's 30 seconds left on the clock. Out comes the tire. Will it find something this time? It's already taken a bit of damage. It does not find anything.
Yeah, that would have been a massive boon for the side of Missouri State.
Like
but the Reinhardt, yeah, that made, whether it was a misclick or got excited and then found out the hard way, but then the Ramatra's just going to answer it and send it back the other way. Ericsson's going to pop the Solar Flare, looking to connect onto a few targets. It's going to be the Ana stealing away all the kills. And Missouri State pitching essentially a shutout against the Mustangs.
Yeah, Mew still ends up finding one with the basket ult again. This dude is absolutely ridiculous with this ultimate, but that is going to be as far as Morningside goes. Missouri State Black able to hold hard just under the bridge, which honestly, super impressive. It's a really good spot, and they put themselves in a favorable spot to make this a 2-1 series.
Yeah, Midtown maybe not necessarily a free map for the offense, but seldom do you see teams just getting hard locked up at that first bridge. We usually at least see the first checkpoint. We usually get to the second stretch of the map down those winding hallways, but Missouri State's saying you will not get another inch on our defense. And Morningside, it's going to be a very tough effort to try to match what Missouri State just put on you, but I certainly have faith in them if they can establish some sort of a good front line here and try to lock things down. But I mean, yeah, 75 meters it's not exactly the hardest job in the world for Missouri State, and especially being down 2-0. I mean, you put yourself in as best a spot as possible to push that fourth map.
Still, Missouri State still has to make sure they get this done. Yes, they finally got some positive momentum, finally got some stuff going. The Junkrat is looking very impressive and very good. Got to bring it home. They have to make sure they start getting this map win under them, because still Morningside could first point hold you here, and then series is over. So they have to continue to focus, keep this momentum going, I believe.
That is very true. Now you've got the Bastion and the Mei on the other side. Keller dropping the Symmetra and the Sojourn. So talk about defensive animals. I mean, these are two heroes that will shred you and completely zone you off from anywhere you want to go. Can AJB and Kimmy do what they were doing in round one, which is isolating and executing? But it's going to be the Mei. Keller, I'm assuming a nasty little right click there onto Potato means that Missouri State will be down in early support. So Morningside, that's a 25-second fight win. First step done.
Yeah, they are looking to at least push a little bit more forward and apply a little bit of pressure, but I mean, being down a support, they're going to have to wait just a little bit longer. Yeah, they're just going to look completely back up there. Still, just a lot of spam damage. Well, Kimmy gets really low, though.
Ooh, yeah, I think a little froggy there, leaped a little bit too far. Morningside will find the punish, and I honestly love Ace just swapping mirror mode Ramatra. Of course, Reinhardt can be good, but I think Ramatra on the defense is just so much easier to play. You get actual range in the kit. You obviously get the shield. We saw the Annihilation doing, I mean, the Annihilation won Missouri State 2 of the biggest 3 fights in that round, so I do not hate seeing the Ramatra. We had the Mizuki in for Lithium as well, so another one of the newer flavor heroes that could potentially find you some maximum value, and so far so good for Morningside. Missouri State, they've got nothing.
Oh, that was almost a really good wall. They're able to get Pseudonym in the end with the Blizzard coming out. Don't know if that was necessary, but you will take it in order to cleanly take everybody out. But that is one big ultimate down that Missouri State no longer has to worry about. Still, more than a minute and a half's already come off the clock. They have to start getting some momentum going.
And before Missouri State gets into position with their ultimates, it's probably going to be about $150 left on the clock, maybe a little bit faster if they hit the go button and hit the gas. But Morningside right now, you're doing exactly what you need to do, and that is stall out as long as possible. Pseudonym got very low there. The overheal gets popped just in time, but the Mei wall keeps the rest of the fight from being just helping out the Ramatra. They get caught out completely on their own. And what was once 3 minutes and 40 seconds, Missouri State, you very well may have 3 to 4 big team fights left at this point.
When you know you're going against a Mei, you just can't willy-nilly walk down alleys and chokeways like that. You are going to get walled off, and you are going to die. Out comes Tired. They don't know where it is. They should be huge against the Mei.
That's exactly what they needed, Missouri State. That's the core pick that you were desperately searching for. Lithium's going to pop the ultimate to try to keep the rest of the squad alive. This Bastion is completely taking over the game. The Annihilation Ramatra from Missouri State is 1 HP, and now it's Ace's Annihilation that is the kicker. We saw the Nano get invested as well, and it was not enough. The Mustangs completely running roughshod over Missouri State. I thought that Riptire was their golden ticket back into the round. Unfortunately now, you have less than 60 seconds on the clock. You just burned up a couple of big ultimates, and Morningside is locked and loaded.
Yeah, but Morningside had to commit 3 of their ultimates. The thing is, they are almost up to another Blizzard, and Mew has shown they can always find a pick with this Bastion ultimate, but this Sundering Blade and Solar Flare should, this Captive Sun, these 2 ultimates should be enough to get you this point.
Pseudonym is low again. We've got to protect the Ramatra. We've got to figure out a way to keep the tank alive a little longer. We've got a Rixon going over the top, though, sky high with the Solar Flare. Not able to find a kill in the early going, but there's the follow-up engage. We saw the Blizzard and the Bastion all both get invested. Lithium's able to shut down AJB, and honestly, even if Missouri State wins this fight, Morningside's probably okay with this because you have drained the time down to 0 effectively.
Yeah, that you have. I mean, they will get themselves this point. I don't think anyone's going to be able to touch. However, I mean, you threw in everything you had if you're Morningside to try and keep that in your favor, and they did not get very far on the second point. So, yeah, you get this to overtime, but it is still an uphill battle. This is not over 2.5 minutes just to get under the bridge. I mean, I still like my odds if I'm Missouri State.
100%. And Morningside, now it's tricky to positioning in this area of the map is very sketchy. You walk up too far and you die, the map will simply just be over. You play too far back and Missouri State puts pressure on you, you can also lose that way. So they've got to be extremely careful, and they've got to really target out these DPS. The Junkrat and the Vendetta have been finding picks at key moments, and it's all about playing shutdown defense for 2 more Grizzly minutes. Pseudonym dies again. They cannot keep this Ramatra upright to save their lives. We are going to see a nice sleep get landed by Potato Gun, but with no tank, Missouri State, you just have to reset. You cannot afford to get staggered out at any point the rest of this map.
The issue is for Morningside, you're basically in a situation where if you lose a fight, which they might here with Ace being low, you might just lose here. I mean, maybe you get a staggered touch, but it's not a great position to be in.
Oh, I thought when Ace was slept in 1 HP, it was a golden opportunity for Missouri State, and then the supports just get ripped to shreds moments later. 34 meters is all that they need, but it is essentially 10 miles at this point. Morningside, Annihilation, Lithium's ulti is ready. We know how dangerous that Blizzard can and will be if used in the right moment, so AJB, Kimmy, Potato, Pseudo, if they can get any of these ultimates in tandem and juice them up, they can absolutely just run over Morningside. They just have to get the setup.
Yeah, there goes the tire. The issue is they can't afford to play back. Oh, they get the ram.
They slept. The Bastion got antied as well. The Annihilation gets popped out of desperation, and it's able to find 2 kills and instantly even out the exchange. Morningside, it's the beauty of Annihilation, and Ace said, you know what, Ego, I got your back. They're subbing me in, and the results will not be changing. 2 ultimates to 2 effectively after the Nano gets used, and Morningside, Bastion ult, Orbital Ray, Lithium has the ulti. Missouri State, it is Sundering Blade, Solar Flare, Annihilation, and you better hope that it works.
Yeah, I will say getting Gatito is huge. That's a huge ultimate out of the way. Sundering Blade now might be able to seal the deal.
Oh my goodness, Morningside, it may have slipped through their fingers at the dying hour. The Annihilation, the Sundering Blade, every single ultimate is finding every single kill, and realistically, I don't know if Morningside's going to have enough players to really make it back and get a proper contest here. They've got about maybe 5 seconds left before this cart is all the way through. It's a late Orbital Ray out of Gatito to try to keep the play alive. Miyu's going to go for the ulti. The cart is essentially at the goal line. There's going to be a last-second contest possibly.
No, there's not.
Morningside, no, they don't. They just let him win for free.
I can't believe nobody went for the touch. Huge play, huge one from Missouri. Getting that pick on the Juno was crucial. It just caused the down spiral of Morningside. And now Missouri can finally relax a little bit, exhale, and now they completed step 1 on trying to get this reverse sweep going.
Yeah, they had to work for it for sure, and you called it perfectly. That kill on the Juno, that was effectively the end of the game. There really was not going to be any good contest. The Orbital Ray was one of those shining lights. You were like, you know what? Things aren't going well. We get to just sit on the cart, and we get to out-heal the other team. You didn't do either of those things. You didn't get to ulti, and no player, they had a chance to get on the cart too, and granted, would they have probably won the fight? I'm going to lean with more than likely not. But you never know. Things happen. An ultimate gets online late. The Orbital Ray came online a little bit late as well. So Morningside maybe made a little bit of an oopsie there at the end. But Missouri State, all credit to them. It looked like an entirely different roster, that map.
I will say, though, this step 1 is the easiest step because from here on out, all the maps will be picked by Morningside. First bans will go to Morningside. So that's just going to have to that's just going to have to be something you have to contend with. We did see the Junkrat ban was already used on map 1, so at least you have that going for you if you want to continue to play that on these maps. But still, it only gets harder from here is more of my point.
Yeah, and I will say, at least from just an AJB perspective, had a little bit of a rough go on the tank early. Why were they? Maybe because the Junkrat was banned is why they weren't on DPS originally, but I mean, that Junkrat was getting them. It essentially won them the first round, and then we saw some really big, even the rip tires that get exploded. At least you're turning the attention of 3 to 4 players saying, okay, we have to find this rip tire. The second you do that, Kimmy goes sky high with a Sundering Blade. They shut down Miyu at a perfect time to end the map there as well. So finally, the teamwork and picking a target to go kill and actually being able to kill them. Pseudonym did get a little bit too excited a few times, especially against the Mei when she can just wall you off and then it's, well, I've got nobody with me, so I'm probably going to get taken down here, but a much, much better effort. And hey, 2 maps is a lot easier to win than 3, but like you said, with control of the series going into Morningside, I'm expecting them to bring their best stuff here, but hey, now that they've lost that first map, the seeds of doubt can start to be sown in just a little bit.
Yeah, and they have Escort and Push left. So It's also the escort and push, not as, I mean, push kind of a little bit, but some of those escort especially is not going to be super conducive to like Bastion composition. So if I'm the side of Morningside, I'm looking to take us to a push map, possibly like a Coliseo or like a New Queen Street, something where you can more play this more close quarters, Bastion May type of situation that you've been playing.
Yeah, I mean, Morningside clearly has an identity and a style. Some of the heroes have changed, but the strategy remains the same. Ham on the front line, everybody else just support them around it. When you can find a pick, great. If the Vendetta goes too far, we're going to make sure we find the punish with the May or whoever else we're using. So they're at least going to have a lot of options open, but we haven't seen them play another style. So if they do get forced into a Diva Winston dive comp, will Morningside have the advantage? I'm truthfully not too sure because we've strictly seen Ramatra, Reinhardt, and the May has been in the game for 95% of the series. So if there has to be any adjustments to be made, Morningside will have to figure stuff out. And yeah, the map and the mode will ultimately determine, or the map and the bans will determine a lot. But Morningside, I mean, do we see Ego come back in the game? I don't know if Ace was necessarily the problem, but I don't think they were the solution either. Especially, you had a good thing going, and you kind of just said, "Listen, we're up 2-0. Maybe we can try something this map." But sometimes it comes back to bite you.
Yeah, so for Morningside, it's all about getting back to basics, locking back in. I mean, like I said, you get map control and first ban once again, so those are great ingredients to getting you there. And yeah, there's gonna be the big question for both of these sides, is they had both teams had major swaps coming in on this third map. Will Missouri State continue to ride the team that they're riding with the role swaps that they made? And like you mentioned, will we see Egoist come back in? I mean, time will tell. Is still waiting on the map and the bans.
If I'm Missouri State, I don't care who plays what. I would leave that 5 in, at least for the next map. Obviously, if you lose, the series is over. But you finally found something that worked, even if the map calls for a different hero pool set and maybe these players aren't necessarily the best 5 that you got for the map. I would still definitely ride it the same. As I've been saying that, though, it looks like Missouri State, they're going to put AJB back on tank, and they're going to bring Soundcheck back in the DPS, so ignore everything I just said for the last 2 minutes. They're going back to what they did in map 1, and this might be their true starting 5, quote-unquote. Maybe AJB is a Junkrat player, and the occasion rose for a Junkrat, and they said, I'll take it from here. I'll take the car, I'll drive the steering wheel, but we're going to have that original lineup from map 1 that didn't look too good, but you at least have the momentum and the juice of a map win instead of just being in that O2 hole and going, where do we start?
Yeah, we haven't seen at least anything posted for swaps coming in from the side of Morningside. So maybe they're going to continue to roll with how it went on Midtown there. We still don't know the map yet, so it's hard to make judgment calls on what's going on if we haven't heard what the map is yet. But again, I think that is interesting, seeing a team who just won a map. I wouldn't say like super convincingly. It was pretty close. It came down to final fight. With the other 2 maps weren't really that close, to go back to the lineup where, the other 2 maps weren't that close.
Yeah, and at least you're not going into a control, and we've seen a lot of teams that are just control and flashpoint merchants. They're going to win basically the 1-3-5 or the 1-2-4 in certain series, and they're just better the way certain game modes are paced. But the good thing for Morningside too is I wouldn't necessarily overthink this map too much. You literally lost that map by like 2 kills, and you played pretty poorly in the first round. Granted, you got to give credit to Missouri State for actually just shutting them down, but I would say that even they would say probably not their best performance, and they were literally 1 meter and maybe a player realizing that they had to get on the card away from possibly winning the map and the series being over. So I don't think they need to necessarily overreact, and maybe with AGB going back to tank, they'll get a renewed sense of security, like, hey, map 1 wasn't good, I'm here to redeem myself, we're going to fix things, we're going to get back on track the way we need to. And as you said, the bans in the map will certainly give us a lot of info, and as it does come through, it is going to be push on Esperanza, which has been one of the more popular push options for a good while. So I think we certainly could see a few wrinkles in the gameplay here.
Yeah, Esperanza is going to be very interesting, which I expected push, but this is also not the push map I expected. I feel like the Bastion May, this is probably, I mean, Rudasapi it's okay, but this is probably the worst one for the Bastion May. So how does Morningside react to that? Are we still going to continue to see the same composition? Are we going to see a swap up? You would think 3 maps in when we've kind of seen mostly the same thing that you expect to mostly see more of the same, but who knows?
Yeah, and with Esperanza talking about maybe the Bastion May won't be as good, maybe Morningside has been chefing in between these maps and they said, listen, we know we've shown you a certain style. We've got a very good dive comp. We've got a very good second option here, a second starting 5 that's going to work very well on this map. And I would hope they've got something cooked up if you're going to pick this map and go confident to try to take this to win a series. And especially with the position both these teams are in, playoffs, nationals, champs, lands, it is all coming up in the next few months. These wins matter now more than ever. It's not the first week of February where it's like, where we lose map 1, let's bring in some subs. We want to figure out the roster. We got to get the chemistry down, figure out what comps work. It is mid-end of March. The options are running out for taking these losses. So Morningside, we will see if anything comes through, and still waiting for the bans as well. These teams must be taking their sweet time.
Yeah, we did see that one player was dealing with some technical stuff, so that could be the issue. Surprised we at least don't have bans because we can at least talk about that. But I don't know. Okay, here we go. Here are the bans. So we got Bastion coming in from Missouri State. No surprises here. I mean, there's nothing more to be said. They've found a kill with every Bastion ult except one so far this series. And then the Ana coming in, that kind of makes sense too. The Ana got huge amounts of value back there on Midtown. And this is one of the maps where you could possibly see like a Winston dive with Ana. So I think both teams made very well-informed bans there.
And I wonder if Morningside is going to be playing a slightly more mobile tank, because the Ana playing into a Ramatra and a Reinhardt, they can't really go anywhere. That anti is essentially a free hit as long as you aim it somewhere that close to the screen. You're effectively going to get the grenade hit. Maybe we will see the Diva. Maybe we will see the Winston. There's, of course, the Domina. There's endless options. It all is going to come down to comfort, especially at this point. I don't think any one of these teams is statistically, what is the highest win rate? 5. It's like, what is going to work? What didn't work? What did we get smacked against in the last map and fell flat on our face? We don't, as far as we know, no Morningside subs are coming through. So expecting it to be Ace in the tank slot still and it to be the same, we're going to find out in about 4 seconds either way. And that is the case. It is going to be Morningside. We're going to have to get the names flipped again, but it is Morningside up 2-1, and they're going to rock with the same old 5.
Nighttime Esperanza too. It's actually nice. It's almost like, I don't know, it's almost like a calming tranquility to me. Like I'm just like, oh, it's just nice. Like I'd feel safe walking around there at nighttime.
Very vibey. Ooh, Mew. Put away the Bastion, one trick, and we're pulling out the Emery. I'm not opposed to that. First Emery we've seen all day, and I was talking earlier how obviously this is some of the higher level play from watching the Homecoming and some of the OWCS stuff over the weekend, but Emery has been, to my eyes, an A+ S tier pick depending on the comp and the map. I mean, it's kind of like Soldier 76, but I think just better now because it's a newer character, so it has newer, modern, more fun to play design. The ultimate can be excellent as well. You get the same level of mobility and can rip people out of the sky as well. But AJB back on the tank, pulling out the Zarya. Potato back onto the Judo with the Ana band coming through. And Morningside, you barely lost Midtown. Can you rock up and take the series here on Esperanza?
Yeah, here we go. Going back to the May still, and they're going to have Ace go over to the Diva. We talked about the Demon. We haven't seen it this series, but Ace also just came in last map, so being able to see this Diva come out could spell danger for Missouri. Let's see how they react.
And listen, even if you're not the best Diva player, the pick is just so unbelievably disgusting turbo right now. You could be an okay Diva player, and I think it's just better than every other tank in the game on 90% of the map. So it feels like it's working out well so far. The defense matrix trying to keep Ace back in the mech, and then a big healing bit to keep them alive. In Morningside, they are angry about Midtown, and they are letting it be known here on Esperanza. That is effectively a team kill a minute in.
Again, just impressive amounts of work coming in from Morningside. It seems like they did not take that map loss very well. Came in, absolutely dominated Lithium on this Moira. Kind of talked about this in the past. The Moira, you have to go fast because you have a lot of burst heals. It just doesn't last that long. And fast did they in that last fight. It's got to keep the momentum going.
Yeah, and can Kimmy find that value on the Vendetta that really felt like it came online at the end of Midtown? There was 3 or 4 Sundering Blades that hit the Reinhardt that took out one of the DPS. There was excellent target selection. This time, though, unfortunately, the only targets are wearing blue jerseys in that Missouri State side. Morningside is taking them to school right now. 60-4, they're about to get the next checkpoint, and they are on their way already. They are grooving and grooving. And Missouri State, Freya ult is about to come online and sound check. Obviously, they've been on ice for the last few maps, too, so you got to wonder if it's going to take them maybe a few minutes to get warmed up. But in the meantime, the Diva's continuing to go on a rampage.
You do get the pick onto the Emery and the Moira. You do lose, so it's a 2-for-2 trade. A lot of distance has been gained from Morningside, though. Can they find some more picks and get some more distance? That, with the Zarya down, they definitely will.
Oh, and Ace is able to hold on to the mech suit for like the 5th time. They're 1 HP, and then they just get a random triple kill. It's a 20 kill streak for the Diva and Morningside. Diva is the way, Diva is life. This is Overwatch in 2026. Look at the immense value, and not to just talk about the Diva, Killer Keller has been phenomenal on a litany of DPS so far in the series, and Morningside has the benefit of 5 check marks for the fight with a Blizzard. Maybe a little bit early up on the front. The Graviton Surge is going to slow the push down, looking for the Wombo combo, but they come up empty-handed. Missouri State got nothing out of the Graviton Surge and sound check.
Yeah, the Blizzard totally split them up. The Override Protocol now has so much burst potential to find more picks, but everyone's pretty much dead back in the
There's no
spawn
one to
group.
kill.
They're able to get one more, possibly they do.
Mew literally looking for anything to shoot, and everybody's dead. He's ulting going, where's the team? Where are my targets? Where are my kills, fellas? But Morningside, this might be the fastest push map I've possibly ever seen. I don't think Ace has died the entire map so far. I think he got D-Mech just once off the Diva bomb there. They only need about 7 meters, and this map's going to be over. Missouri State going for a late Diva swap of their own. And it's not going to matter. A 4-minute push, and Morningside taking Missouri State to town on Esperanza. That was honestly shocking after what we saw in Midtown. I expected at least a little more something. I feel like we barely got to see that map.
I felt like I just blinked and this map was over.
Like, right?
That was crazy work coming in from the side of Morningside. I mean, Ace definitely showed their prowess on this Diva, and yeah, they did not die that map. I think they, like you mentioned, they just got D-Mech the 1 time, so that was impressive. I hope it's top 4, man. I would love to see this Morningside team make that bracket after what we just saw.
Listen, we got to see, and I was talking about, are they brawl merchants? Do they only have one play style? Ace says, literally have an ace up my sleeve. I'm actually a pretty good Diva player. The pick is broken, and then the Emery finding a lot of value. I'm hard to find words. We literally had like 2.5 team fights, and now we're in this screen. It took them longer to ban the heroes than it did to play that whole map.
Yeah, that was impressive. Congratulations to Morningside for getting that victory and going to 5-2 on the season. Now it's just all about hoping that the RNG and the number of teams that make it fall your way. And for the side of Missouri State, overall, great season. It comes to an end here, but great momentum to build on for the next semester.
And listen, they went down, maybe not kicking and screaming in map 4, but if we got that Midtown version of Missouri State the whole series, I'm fully convinced we would have got a 5 maps, but it feels like for all the great work they did, they would just have 3 minutes of just getting beaten up by the side of Morningside, and ultimately they ran out of gas, I think, at the end, truthfully, because after maybe the first couple fights, it was pretty clear how the map was going. The robot literally never stopped moving the entire way through. They didn't even need to use that many ultimates. They used a lone Blizzard to split the fight. And when you have an Emery trying to ult people and there's no one left to ult, your team is in a very good spot.
Yeah, they ended up being able to, get the Vendetta low enough and then kill her in her ultimate. So, again, great series from Morningside. With that, that is going to wrap up NECC for the week. Do not forget, folks, next week, all of our titles, playoffs begin next week. You are not going to want to miss that Monday through Friday, all the different games that we do, from League to Rivals to Rocket to Overwatch to all of them. You're not going to want to miss it. Valorant. It's going to be quite a show for you guys. Huge shout outs to Chippy and SGK Carol behind the scenes, doing what we need to do to get you guys the amazing scenes for producing and observing. We couldn't do what we do if it wasn't for you guys. And thank you, Jobin, once again for joining me behind the mic. We will see you guys at the next broadcast.